Testing, testing, testing. All right, C++. We're starting chapter 3. I'd like to just quickly take a look at your D2L content for Unit 3, which is associated with Chapter 3, Unit 3 module, and then we have your lesson plan. Our standard lesson plan. Be sure to read and study Chapter 3. Check your self-review exercises. Answers are provided at the end of the chapter. Of course, it is not graded. Chapter exercises, complete the exercises, type in your word answers only, include the required header. And in this chapter, your items are listed for the exercises you are to complete. There's shared sample code. In this module. Look for online discussions. Typically summer sessions, there is none. Program project is assigned at the end of the chapter, and this will be Prog 03 for our program project assignment for chapter 3. And again, I will expect a copy of your .ccpp file or files and your .h file or files uploaded to the correct D2L assignment category, and as always, a copy of the screen capture uploaded to a Word document, including your required header to demonstrate your success with output. And of course, your chapter test is found at D2L Brightspace quizzes. Right, then back to chapter 3. In this chapter, we are going to become acquainted with object-oriented programming. This becomes another abstract thinking. I'm sure for most of you it's something brand new as a way of memory, and a lot of new terminology. Classes cannot execute by themselves. A person object can drive a car by telling it what to do without knowing how the car is function can drive by calling it function without knowing how the class is. In this sense, think about your main function as a driver function for your program. So the main driver activities of a program exist in the function of your system. We're first going to look at our driver program, and we'll name our driver program. And this book does name objects name test.cpp as a driver program. So here we have a file name by account, which is going to be our object, account test.cpp. And this is our driver program. You should follow that naming system as well. We're going to create and display an account object. We have our include file, and string, and then include our own header. We're going to create another file. It's going to be a header file, and we're going to and must name it account as our class object is account. Notice that with this pound sign, because it is our own work, you and I are writing the source code for this header. close it within double quotes. And it has the .h. The pound sign includes files that are already known and within the C++ library are within the custom. So right now we know we have to somehow create a hex file by the name of a print. We'll have to get to that in a little bit. We're using our namespace directive, so we don't have to type std colon for all of our source code. Our main function, open brace, and I recognize the close brace. And now we're declaring a variable by the name of my account, which is of type account. Notice account as a class is uppercase as the first character. So the type is a class object of type account, and the name for that class is my account. A lowercase for the first letter of a variable name, uppercase word in, and that will create our account by the name of my account. Line 12, we have a single line comment. Show that the initial value of the empty string. Now the empty string is our null string, which is to that string yet. So we're going to see out initial account name is space, going spaces for close quote. So we're going to direct to the see out console screen. And now we use this mechanism for syntax. It's my account, the name of the variable pointing to the account class object. My account dot, and call a member function by the name of name. So my account variable name for a class object by the name of account. And we're going to get into that account dot, and we're going to call one of our functions. And get name is going to, well, I suppose, get the name for us and print it to the screen. Next, we have another prompt or comment, prompt for and read the name. Now we're going to display within quotation a new line. Remember, that's an escape character. It means display that new line or carries return and line to the next line on output. It does not print backslash in. Escape character forcing a new line. Please enter the account name colon space. So we've got that all coded to the output device. And string the name. We have a string data type, and we're calling it by the variable name. And then get line cn, the name. Well, that sounds like we're going to get a line of text from the console input device on the keyboard. And we're going to read that input line of text from the keyboard and assign it to the string variable name, name. My account got set name, so we're calling the class account by the name of my account. We're going to use one of its member functions, set name, and we're going to set the name to the current value of the name that was input at the keyboard by the user. We have another single line comment, display the name stored in the object account. We're going to display the output device. Quote within the quote, name in object my account is space. We've got our spacing control for output purposes, and we're going to then place on the value returned by getName from the my account object. When we run this program, it'll say initial account name is, there's nothing there, so it doesn't print anything. The initial, when we start, value is null, nothing. And then we prompt the user, please enter the account name, and someone at the keyboard types green. And we want to make sure that that's assigned properly, so the name and object my account is, and it returns my account.getName. So the current name value in the account class object name my account is green. Now again, the author continues to dissect this code from the driver program, the account test.cpp. Well, we create the account with the account class name and then the name for that account. And it creates the class object account called my name. The variable's type is account and the variable's name is my account. A class account is defined then in the header account.h, the corresponding account name.h. We tell the compiler what an account is by including its header. So we included that line on technically quotes account.h. Pay attention upper and lower case. Our classes begin with case. If we would omit the inclusion of an account header file, then the compiler would even know what account is or how that is at all. In the account side include directive, a header that you define in your program is placed in quotes rather than left brackets as used in our standard library headers that come equipped with C++. Files ending with the .cpp file name extensions are source code files, and they define what the program's main function or the driver program is to do. Calling class account getName member function. The account class's getName member function. Well, that sounds like a lot, but it's just the behaviors of what this account object is able to do. What are the purposes, the tasks of an account object? Well, we would want to get name, assign a name and get a name. So those seem like typical member functions, behaviors that we would expect. To call the member function for a specific object, you specify the object's name, which is the variable my account, followed by the dot operator. Then the member function with the name, and parentheses, empty parentheses indicate that your function does not require any additional information to perform its task. From main's view, now this is from our main source code, our driver program, which is the code we just looked at. From the main view, this is how your main function sees it. When the getName member function is called, the program transfers execution from the call, line 13 in main, to member function getName. Because getName is also called by the my account object, getName knows that it is the object data to manipulate. Next, member function getName performs its task. That is, it returns the name to line 13 where the function was called. And now main function does know the details of what the name is. The cout object displays the name returned to them by the member function to the main program, and the program can run and end up displaying the name. Line 17, string the name. Create a string variable named the name. Remember, upper lowercase variable name that's used to store the account name entered by the user. String variables can hold character strings, values such as Jane, space, green, upper lowercase and space within the quotes are adhered to. A string is actually an object in the C++ string library, which is defined in the header, which we included the string header. Class name string, like the name cout, belongs to namespace standard. To enable line 17 to compile, line 4 includes the string header. The using directive in line 7 allows us to write the string without the std::. Sometimes functions are not members of a class. Such functions are called global functions. In line 18, get line, and we know it's a function because when you have a get line or a function name followed immediately by a parenthesis, we know it's a method, a function. So get line open paren tells us that this is a function. Cn, comma, the name, close parentheses, semicolon. Reads the name from the user and places it in the variable name. Global function get line to perform that task. Like class string, function get line requires the header and belongs to the namespace standard. The preceding statement would only read in our example, we'd like the user to type the complete name, including the space, and enter to submit the name. So we want Jane space green, enter. Then we'd like to store the entire name in the same variable, the name. When we use get line, the system will allow us to type, and then when we enter, after typing the data, the system inserts a new line in the input string. Function get line reads from the standard input stream output Cn the characters that the user enters up to but not including the entity or the new line, and discards it as part of its task. So we do indeed end up with a string assigned to the string variable name, but not an additional new line as part of the string. The account class is set name member function. Stores an account name in a particular account object. So my account is the name of our account class. My account dot is our stream. Set name calls the set name open paren calls the set name member function, and we have the name which will put the name that's assigned to the name in my account. You can place arguments in a function call. Here, the name's value, input in line 18, is the argument that's passed to set name, which stores set name's value in the object my account. From main's view, this is now we're looking at our main driver program. We will be looking at separate pieces of code. Our .CH03 code, which is our main driver code, and it calls and interacts with the account class definition in the header file. From main's point of view, when set name is called, the program transfers execution from main to set main member function's definition within the class object. The class passes the function, which is the argument value in the call parameter, that is the name's object value. Because set name was called via my account, set name knows that that is the exact object to manipulate. My account dot set name. Next, member function set name stores the argument's value in
object. When set name completes execution, program then execution returns to our main driver program and begins execution with the line following the calling statement. Now let's look at and study code for the driver.h program. Class account contains a name data member that stores the account holder's name. A class's data members maintain data in each object of the class. Class account also contains member functions, set name and get name, that the program can call and store a name in and get a name from. So our figure 3.2 is a source code for the account.h, where account must match the data type of the class object that we're making use of. And this .h program defines the object, its name, its data members, and its data member function. So account.h is going to declare the data and identify behaviors of what this class object can do. While this is account class that contains a data member by the name of name and member functions to set and get its value. We have outside include string. We're declaring the class object with an open brace. We should find its corresponding end brace, and then very important, within an account definition header file, you must include the trailing semicolon to end your class definition. So we have class object by the name of account, open, close parentheses, so we have the body of the code, and then we're closing the count a class definition header file with the semicolon. Within the body of our header source code, we have public members. Public is a word that describes that these member functions can be used elsewhere in other programming activities. We have a member function that sets the account name in this object. Void set name, open paren, we know it is a function, set name with open parentheses. Standard dot string. Now we're using the standard directive for string data, and in your header file, just remember that to avoid any compilation errors, by convention, we do not use the namespace directive. So we will have to type the standard dot colon as necessary within a file. Void means that the set name returns nothing to the main driver program, but the set name we're expecting a string to be shared or passed as a parameter from the driver program, and its value shared from the driver program will be assigned to the set name. And then within this body of code, our open and close brace, the body of code for the set name function, we have name is equal to account name. So whatever name was typed by the user at the keyboard and assigned to account name is going to be passed to account name in the header, and then assigned to the class object name variable with the assignment name is equal to account name. And we have a member function that we to account name from this. So standard colon string. We have a function get name open paren. It receives no parameter. It has a single to use open and close brace for the body of this function. We're going to return the name, where name is the data member being stored by the, and it will return that as a to the driver program. And then the driver program can continue to manipulate name. Private items within the class object, typically your data members are private. So we're going to declare all of our data members as private, and typically declare all of them in one location within your program, and here we're declaring them blank. We have our standard string name as a data member within the class object of account, and name is going to contain account holder's name, John Green, Kathy Johnson, etc. So the account holder's name is maintained by the class account, and we're naming our class object my name, what's available on my account. Continue to read as the author dissects in the narrative each of those statements. Now let's take a look at our UML class diagram on page 80. UML stands for Universal Modeling Language, and its diagrams are summarizing your object class attributes and operations. Attributes are the data members, and operations would be the behaviors of the function. Industry UML diagrams help system designers visually conceptualize and display graphically the programming needs in an independent manner. So people that are not necessarily programmers can design the logic and graphically display what is the purpose of a particular account using the UML diagram. So we have our rectangular design for drawing. In the top compartment is the name of your class object. We are working with the account class object at this time. It should be uppercase and then lowercase. It's centered in that top compartment. And if you were typing this, it would be typed in bold. In the middle compartment, we have our data members. So our data members are the items that this account is responsible for maintaining. And this account object is going to maintain and always know it's private, and we use the hyphen to indicate private. It's private variable name of name, which is a type. So the syntax of your UML private is the hyphen, name is the name of the variable or the data member of this class by the name of account, and its data type. In the bottom compartment, we have the behavior or the member function. So this account can have behaviors or actions can take place. Like we can set the name of this account by calling set name method. There's no space there, don't remember parentheses, the function name, and then the immediate parentheses. The name of our method is set name, which implies that we're going to set a name or assign a name to this account. The plus indicates that it's public, so it can be used by other classes and functions. Set name, open paren, we're going to receive an account name as a parameter. This is a parameter. And from main, we call set name. But remember, we asked the user to type the name of the account at the keyboard. So the name is defined in main, and we're passing that name as a parameter. It's going to be accepted by set name with a name of account name, which is also and we have a member function which is also public with the plus sign get name. We want to get the name of this class object. And getting the name of this class object, we call the function that has the behaviors of how do we get the name from the class object. This member function is public. Get name, it has no pass parameters, but it does have a return value. The return value is string, which makes sense. We assigned a string by the name of account name to the name of the account. So to get the name, we have to also be returning the name, which is of the same type, string. Now, while this models the class object by the name of account, its data members, and its member function. Your class object begins to instantiate variable names of the account data type. So we can have an account one of data type account, which means it's a class object, and that's your object-oriented programming. So account one as a variable is referencing all of the data members within the assignment of our class object. So we have an object that has a name data member being green. We might want to assign another data object. So we have account 2, and that variable is instantiated as an account class object, and it's going to maintain the name of the account 2 folder, account 3, account 4, and so on. So let's see how we do with shared authors code, beginning on page 75. Open Visual Studio. Start with a new account or new project. Windows Desktop. We're going to call our new project Figure 03, 01 through 02. And if you notice, Figure 3.1 is on page 75 and Figure 3.2 begins on page 78. One is the account driver program, so that's your source code.cpp, and the other on page 78 is your account definition, so it's the account.header supporting file. We do want to make sure that we have our location set for and browse to in your first name. We want to be working in chapter 3. So I'm starting a new folder, chapter 3. I'll select that folder. I'm working with figures 1 and 2 from chapter 3, and I'm going to have a location of chapter 3 through my first name.
Okay, this is startup code that I don't need, so I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to go out to the author's supplied code in my examples folder for chapter 3. Remember, you have to extract that if you have not yet. And I'm looking for figures chapter 3, 01 through 02. And there are my two shared files. The account test file.cpp is our driver file found on page 75. I'm going to open that up in Notepad or Notepad++, it doesn't matter. I'm going to copy that, select all and copy, and paste back into Visual Basic. Now again, this is some shared code. If you're working from scratch or needing to turn this project in, remember to include your required documentation. Also, be sure to change the project properties for C++, precompiled headers. On a pull down arrow, select not using precompiled headers and apply and OK. Now we see in our source files that we have our figure 1.cpp as a driver program for our object-oriented programming test. Next, we have to include the header file that defines the class object, its data members, and its behaviors, its data member functions. And I want to include that in the header files. It is a header definition. It's my header. So I'm going to right-click and add. An existing item, and I'm going to path to it a shared file from examples, chapter 3, and it's in the figure 1 and 2 and the account.h. Open that, and I have my account.h shared file from the author, which begins on the bottom of page 78. Again, this is an editor, so if this were a project we are turning in, you want to include your required documentation, you simply type and get that original startup correct with your beginning required documentation. And that's in your student resources at D12. Okay, let's go back to our driver program. And you see the tabs at the top. I'm currently looking at the account.header file. Let's look at the CPP file. So account test. Remember, we're naming our driver programs associated with the account object. Our class object is account. We're testing it. We're using it in our driver program. Creating and manipulating an object. I am including in source code within my driver program the need to include in my compilation the definition for my object-oriented object of account. An account is defined with its definitions, data members, and data functions, or member functions in account.h code. Using namespace is allowable within our source code, but remember in the .h we do not use the naming directive. Main, I have my open brace. I should find the close brace. The actions now within main, I'm declaring a new data type of account. Account will be known because I have defined its object in account.h. So I can declare that my account as a variable name is of type account. Here we're just doing a little test. We're making sure that there's no residue or leftover data in a variable name. So we're outputting to the screen, initial account name is, and then our mechanism, my account, which is the variable pointing to the account class object that get name. So we are calling the get name member function from my account. So this means that from my account, please call the get name member function. I'm going to go and look at that in account.h. And sure enough, there is a public member function to get name. And it says that it is going to return a string, get name. It's only one variable that we're talking about in this. And where it's going to return name. And name is the data member. And the data member name hasn't been assigned anything yet. So it's not going to return anything. So that's why we get kind of nothing or a null space telling us on the output screen that it has not been yet assigned. Prompt for and read a name. Well, we want the user to type in a name for the account holder's name of this account, which would be a string. It's not an integer or a float or a double. It's a string. So the user is going to type in, and we're going to collect the entire line of text from the keyboard that the user types in and assign it to the name. So we are collecting all the data typed at the keyboard. Jane, space, green, enter is captured, and we're going to assign myaccount.setName by passing everything that was typed at the keyboard except the carriage return. The get line strips all of the information but does not include the enter key for a new line. And so we get Jane space green assigned to the name, and myaccount.setName now knows the name is Jane Green. We're calling myaccount.setName. We're going to go to the header, and sure enough, we have a setName method. It's expecting a string, and it's going to accept the name Jane Green and assign it to account name. And within setName, we're going to assign name, which is a data member of this object, to account name that was passed to setName from main, and that is Jane Green.
So the driver program has called setName and assigned name with the Jane space green that was passed to setName. So the member function was shared Jane and then set the name variable in the account to Jane Green. So now the account knows that Jane Green is the name of this account.
And we return to CPP, our driver program, and continue with the next line of text, which says, well, now that the main program driver knows what the name of this account is, we can output that to the output device. So the name and the account object, my account is space, continue to output my account.getName. So when I get the name from my account, getName, it returns the name, which is stored in my account object name field. Let's run with Control F5. Set our projects if I didn't. Looks like I did. Account.h. Sure, account is spelled correctly. Sure, everything is in your chapter 3. Looks like it didn't set up correctly. So my path must have been incorrect at one point or another. We'll save each one. Save CPP as 2. I want to save it to Kate, chapter 3. In my figure, there. And save account.h as, oh yeah, that's still in the wrong folder. So let's make sure we get that back to my local drive. C:"Kate. And we want to save that there. Okay, now checking, I should have those files in my Kate folder. And these are things you'll have to work on too. Defaults are set and sometimes just don't get everything where they're supposed to be. We'll see if that works with the save all. And so I made sure that the account.h file was saved correctly in the Kate subfolders of the project. I did inherit it. I didn't type it from scratch. So it was inherited from the student data files folder. And I had to make sure that it was actually existing within the project folder. So it says initial account name is, well, initial account name was not set. It's null, so nothing prints. But we're asking to enter the account name now. And we're told that it's Jane Green account. Remember, it types a get line. So from the system console, when I type, it's going to collect everything, including the return enter key. But it strips the enter key from the assignment and passes to the account header file, Jane space Green, and assigns that name to the name variable in the account as the data member's name value. And then we ask for the name in the account, my account, to be printed or displayed to the output device. And of course, main can do that now because Jane Green is known and passed as a return value to the main driver program. So let's try again. We just made sure that everything was initialized to null, nothing. We didn't inherit anything. Please enter the account name. Well, let's call it Kathy Jansen. I'm entering. Get line accepts all the characters in this line of input, but gets rid of the enter key new line character and passes that value to set name in the header file. So now my account dot name is known, and I can get that my account dot name with get name, and it will return the name that's stored in my account, which is a class object of type account. So my account dot set name and my account dot get name. My account dot set name has a parameter, the name, which is what we typed at the keyboard, and passes it to account dot h header. So the name can be defined in the header. Set name receives account name, which is the name from main, which is Jane Green or Kathy Jansen, and assigns the data member, the private data member of this class object to a string value Jane Green or Kathy Jansen. So now the account knows its own name, and when I ask to get the name of this object from the driver program, my account, which is a class object of account, my account.get name, we're calling the function that can do that behavior, return the name to the main driver. And sure enough, there is a public get name. It's going to return data type string, and the name, of course, is of type string, so it returns Jane Green to the calling environment, the driver program, and it prints my account.get name will print the current name of the holder's account, which is Jane Green. Let's run again. It is initialized to nothing. Please enter the account name. Well, can't insert here. Okay. I'm getting a line of text and assigning it the name. The name is passed to the header file and sets the name variable contents within the account to Paul Malters, and account.getName calls getName from the account header, and it can pass back, that is, return to the main program the current name, which is Paul Malters. This takes a lot of study and referencing between the two files. Your driver program is your .cpp, and your account header is the definition of the account object. We can have a vehicle object. We can have an employee object. And its definition with its member function, members and functions. So we have our data members that are private to this object, and the actions of this account, which are our public set name and get name. And then remember the UML and the object maintains its own data members at all times. All right, there'll be a continued lecture on chapter 3, so we'll be watching for that. And thank you very much.